Yo, what's up? In this video, you're gonna learn about what I think about the universe. I'm gonna say this is the universal thought process, but it's also gonna be about history and what I think about history. And I'm gonna be uh, say this up front, and it's everything, all my knowledge and information was all self-taught. Sorry, I had to burp. So yeah, all of my information is self-taught, and so yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I think about history, tell you what I think about uh, like the history of the like colonization, I believe, like from the white history, also the history of the transition into um, Jesus Christ and God, and also I'll try to touch about the transition from what I think humanity and yeah, where humanity came from and the influence around everything and history. So, kind of a general topic about what I think about the universe and the universe's history, and as well as the history here on Earth alongside it. So, let's get this started. Well, I really wanted to make this video because I was explaining it to my brother, or like, yeah, I was explaining it to. I explained it very well, So I figured I might as well share it with everyone. So, what I think about aliens, or like, how would you say that, foreign beings? Because they announced today on the news that there are unidentified aerial phenomenon, or whatever. I forgot the classification, but they're now airing it on the news. So my my idea, my understanding of where they're coming from and what the whole idea is. So um, and these things have been here way before our time. Like, they've been here, and that's just the way it is. So there's nothing that we can say that can change that. They're not here after us; they were here before us. So nothing we can do about that. So understanding them and what they're doing, like they have their deadly spacecraft that could fly super fast. And I've come to start to understand the process in which that they obtain their ability to coexist with their ideology of how and the way that they can survive. And these beings, they created uh, vehicles that can transport themselves and or other things, even colonies, across and throughout the, how would you say, the cosmos or the universe. But yeah, so the way they travel in vast speeds. They travel so fast that you can't even see it. So I've come to start to understand that maybe there's a lot more that we're unable to see with our human eye because of the vast speed that in which that these beings travel in. So, one of the things that I was wondering was, I wonder what else we would see if we were able to go as fast as the speeds as these beings are in either direction in the universe. So what I'm also mean by that, in that general sense, is also by the vibration of in which that something is heard and or seen. So when it comes to hearing, there's certain vibrations and tones that we can hear and certain ones that we can't. So I figure it's the same thing with the universe, and the same thing with eyesight. You can only see so far until you can't see anything. So with the cosmos, uh, it goes so far and so far, like it almost never ends. The existence of certain elements throughout the entire area that is the universe, and it never ends. No matter which way direction that you go, it never ends. So my understanding is, because the vastness of the entire cosmos and universe, all the galaxies, the vastness and that is here, that these beings created these vehicles, and they had to create these vehicles. There's no other way for them to survive, because they probably knew or have a strong understanding that they've been traveling in the universe at a very slow pace trying to survive, and they couldn't keep up with surviving at that rate. So they had to develop more sophisticated technology that allowed them to increase their speed in which that they can travel. So increasing their speed allows them to decrease the distance. So then therefore the way that they survive, they can continue doing. So, you know, by, whichever wherever those vehicles were made, which were probably to attain certain elements, or even to search for certain things, or even to search habitable planets, so they could, bring a slower vehicle to that place, or, if they're trying to survive. But, that's one side of it. But these beings have vehicles that travel so far and so fast, at such fast distances, and understanding the universe of how far and how fast or how vast it is, it goes in like forever. So no matter which way that we essentially look or turn or point or anything, like if we look up, we look down, no matter which way that we look here on Earth, there is multiple galaxies and trillions of miles. So imagine the light years that we comprehend here in our universe and our way of understanding. And then these people have these vehicles that can travel beyond what we think of what is light, or like traveling distances. So these things can travel light years in mere minutes, I would predict, in like hours rather than years, maybe days, and they can travel vast, far distances. So these things come from, like, probably, like, who knows, like, how far these things came. These things came from a far place, like really, 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 really far. And they can probably travel back and forth so easily, but it's like beyond our capability to understand. And I strongly believe, because of their vehicles, of how fast that they are, like they travel, that's the distance in which that they can survive, because they need to make it back and forth, because of how fast they're traveling, and whether if it's to search throughout the universe for certain stuff, these beings created those vehicles for a reason. So another thing about the universe is that it never ends. There could be life in any direction. There may be even life in surrounding planets. that we may or may not be told because of the way that history is, and so another thing on history is these things been here, and then um, Jesus was introduced because of the worshiping of the serpent. But I'm kind of having an idea that the, how would you say, serpent, because there's like two ideologies. There's the religion side of things, of saying what is evil and what is bad. So, it depends on what you're going to be doing with that technology and that information. And that information, it provides certain aspects of certain doings and beings. So, when the they came down and tried to help us, and then they started figuring out that that was worshiping something that wasn't who they are, and so like the humans back in the day, they realized that that was kind of like wrong. Like they had a better well sense of what is, because these things, they've been traveling in space for so long. Of course they would lose their way. Of course they're not going to understand the proper management of stuff. Maybe they already do. Maybe it was because somebody came down here, and they started doing certain things because they were here on Earth. They wanted to partake in the dark age of the way that humanity was living. Maybe that's why they came down to take part, and so that's why the people got scared because of what they were taking part of. And so, but the other one, well, I would say in general, that's yeah. So the aliens are here. They're alongside with us. I mean, that's what I would highly guess, because they've been here for years, way before us, and like they came from vast distances. They traveled super far and super long. So, and I strongly believe the ones that come and go, they're they're like, how would you say, scouting. They're looking out, and they're curious because they've been by here, and they're like, they're sending stuff, people, and like things, and they're like checking us out and visiting us. So they've been here for years. So with history, alongside of what we call like the Bible and all that, the Adam and Eve, the serpent, and so before Jesus, before God, like before that understanding, before that push of that awareness, it was similar to the same thing, but it was for the understanding of the worship of the serpent at that time in that age. That was before Jesus and before God, of for humanity. So so they were doing that thing, worshiping this thing that maybe understood God and whatnot. So they used that, and they labeled themselves or whatnot, or even the humans did it automatically without saying or doing anything proper. They just put labels. Then when they came down here, and then they started having technology and all that stuff, and then the humans got scared. Then they called it evil and whatnot. But I strongly believe that these so-called aliens are actually, how would you say, like angels, because they've been here for like years, way long, and their technology is far more advanced. There had to been, I feel like there had to been a race far before humanity, because God has, how would you say, a pretty clear understanding of how he wants his divine place to be. So he needed to create these far advanced beings, so they could how would you say, bring the technology, or like the the vastness closer to the reaching of certain information. So they're there and they've been there, and then we come along, and then we switch it up from them giving us that information to us doing what is that is in best of our understanding. So we started worshiping God and all that. At the same time, there's still that dark age stuff that is still there. It's still solidified with humans and other people that are still here and that are still living on Earth. So they're not gonna get rid of it. That's because it's history. This is how it is. It's history. There's the dark age. There's all of that, and just going through all of this other stuff into this new age of God and whatnot. But these aliens, these beings, they've been here for way longer, and then from the dark age coming into this now age, especially when it comes to history, that a lot of that gets kept because they covered up the worshiping of the serpent, and they eradicated and killed everyone who was not willing to convert. And then because they wanted to hold all of that information, and they wanted to keep that information, because they knew that that was a better place to be. And even the serpents even probably told them about God without knowing the impact of what a person would do, like how they would change their understanding of what history is. So humans tried to eradicate all the understanding of worshiping of the serpents, so they switched it over to worshiping like Jesus and God. And then, yeah, so aliens been here way before us, and then they tried to cover it up, like the humans. They tried to cover it up by eradicating it. And they were here way before, and it's like, I don't understand why the humans had to be so scared, because they were here way before us. They're gonna be here way longer than us, unless we can catch up to their standard. Because every civilization, even where they're from, like aliens, they probably grew up just the same as us, like humans did. They evolved, and then they were like kind of like cavemen, and they had to evolve in order to survive. And because they were surviving so well, they were able to create certain technologies to help improve their colony and help improve their existence as the beings who they are, and then whatnot. So I strongly believe that aliens, they had to start from somewhere. I feel like if they developed similar to how humans developed, I feel like they would have had to go through the time of religion as well. I feel like they would have had to gone through the time of like growing from the dark age to what is religion, and what is God and whatnot. I bet you when they started as the first colony and like their first little thing, and they grew up to like this crazy thing that we can't even fathom, like their technology. I strongly believe that they went through similar stuff like us, like going through like same development of technology, and same with religion. I feel like they went through all of it, same like we did here. But another thing is, yeah, I feel like they went through that, and so they've been here before us, and um, yeah, so that's the way I understand where religion comes from, and why it's so why. And one thing I don't understand is why do these I want to say white people, I don't know why, but I don't want to say white people, but like the people of God. But I know it's not the people of like God, it is people of the information of God, but also with the same information of their old dark age. So they try to do their own thing to figure out how to best equip the world, because these humans too, they've been surviving, they've been living, and they were probably like one of the most predominant beings on Earth, and they got that information, so then they decided to use that predominant uh, what they had to go out and to like convert people, and also to like eradicate them because they were worshiping, or they wouldn't convert over from serpent worshiping our understanding to God and Jesus and how they understood it, and maybe even just understanding if it was from the aliens that we understand God, if that's where it came from, at least if we understand why we created, or why religion was created, that we could fully understand. Like, we could have converted ourselves just by understanding those, rather than just going out there eradicating and killing just because of the worshiping of those of that being, or those beings, because of the dark age, because those beings came down because they liked the darkness of what they were doing. So they came down and whatnot, and they partaking, and then God times, and then they kind of left. During that time, they kind of separated away from humans. So that's the way I strongly believe about history, at least understanding it. So I just wanted to share a lot of this information, because I feel like the more we understand and we try to understand what history is as a whole, as the entire thing, we can properly understand, and come to a better understanding and well understood manner in life, rather than being scared and being scared of everything. Like, being scared of everything doesn't help. Like, it keeps people safe, like, depending on certain stuff. But at the same time, it doesn't develop. It doesn't allow for growth and development, especially for us as humans. That's what we need, is growth, development. Our society, us as humans, we need to really figure this shit out. That's why I want to share a lot of this information, because the more we understand history, the more we understand the universe and what we see and how we understand it, the better that we can all come together. And one of them is, you know, humans living alongside with these beings, and when it comes to the universe, there's gonna be change. So, we're all gonna lose our way of life, because it's just natural ways, and that may even be a process in which that God has created through the long term, that planets would die, but the life could still live, that was developed enough to search and find another place, and then to coexist with those beings, and helping them with that information, and then keep going and finding more places and doing that, and then because then that planet will start to die off, and you got to go to another part of the universe, through the eons and decades, like just throughout history and throughout time. But because of the scaredness that it's gonna prolong the period for humanity, because of the way the the leaders of the world want to keep portraying, based off of this information, away from um, what you would call uh, the sharing of the information with aliens, because they got scared of what they were doing, of like the old past history, they got scared about worshiping serpents, and so they really driven the old history, the old time, the old path. They really driven the path of humanity in general, and religion and the fear mongering towards other creatures of this entire universe is just ridiculous. Like they guarantee they've already been through everything that we have, and if not, it's in its process for a reason. If that's not the case, then there's a reason why God God came to us when He did, is because He wanted to help bring the word and the information and enlightenment not only to us but also to those beings that were here. And I strongly believe that what they say at the end of the Bible is the start of the Bible. And it kind of tells and shows at the beginning of certain things, but also understanding it as a universal aspect, as history, as document. These things probably were here when Jesus and God came down, and you know and it probably even came with the activation from these beings, if it was because they relayed the information to us, or allowing that process to be. And or if God came down here during that time, they were here to witness it, and they were here to hear the stories, and they're able to hear all of that information, and they probably got so frightened by something that they couldn't even fathom, so they decided to kind of leave us, you know. But I strongly believe that when we are introduced with these beings, that they're gonna share a lot of that information, because that's what we need to be doing, and that's what we do already, is we relay information for the next generation. These things want to do the same thing for everything, because they understand, they've been here for years, they understand the process, and they're trying to give it out to everyone, to awaken everyone to be a part of what it is to be in the universe. And I'm sure there is bad races out there. Like, what I mean by races, I mean there's like bad creatures that have other bad intentions, and so that's probably why they have such, like, the good beings have such higher, how would you say, advancements, is because they know how to properly like maintain certain things, so even when it comes to like dark energy, and whatnot, like what they discovered in the universe when it comes to like dark matter, I strongly believe that when it comes to dark matter and like spirituality and stuff like that, that there is a lot of stuff that is like there that we can't see, so yeah. um these beings been here way before us. Those beings came to a longer time, a further period, in their process. They're probably watching us, and they're probably like reflecting on where we're at, like, yeah, we were there, like we were exactly right there, and they're probably like giving us little extras just to help, because they know we'll all help with certain aspects. But the humans on Earth, they're, because of the where they come from and that fear and whatnot, and they're driven and they're driving and all of that. Like, they're gonna keep trying to do that, and they're gonna keep trying to not have that information out for the people, like the real people of Earth, you know. So they're gonna like the government's gonna try to like hide that, you know, and not let that kind of be a well known thing, because they the government probably wants to have all the information for themselves so that they could, you know, have more power and control, you know, for what's going on here on Earth. And I feel like they probably have an incentive. Like I feel like they have a strong incentive. Like that's what I think that they feel like they have a strong incentive to control and manipulate Earth, like people of Earth, when the universe is the way the universe is. History has been the way history is, you know, and that's the one thing they try to say is not to repeat history when history is the way it is, you know, like we had to go through dark times in order to grow, to understand what is good, because even with the like other beings, you know, they probably went through the same thing. They probably went through that hard understanding what good and bad is, you know, and they had to like battle themselves, even other beings, you know, and then the good beings are left, you know, and then there's spreading of that good wellness, you know, and then bringing it throughout the universe, and then God coming, you know, and having that as well. So that's what I think about the universe. I know this is kind of long, but what I think about the universe, what I think about God, what I think about like the the guidance of humanity, you know, or you can say like the manipulation of where humanity went. But the real side of it is the where it's it's where their decisions brought us. That's what history is. We are living people's we are living as a humanity, we're living in the way people think. We're living in those aspects. We're not living in a way that is the universe. You know, we're not able to grow and advance, you know, and to do what it is to be a part in the universe. Similar to how it is here on Earth, what it is to be, you know, like for an animal to like just to make a reference, like their experience, you know, and they get to enjoy their lives. So it should be the same for us, you know, if that's the information that we need. We need to be able to enjoy this universe, so we need to be able to wander and enjoy, you know, and do our thing and survive, you know. Like we're allowed to do those things. We have that's our God given right, you know, not only here on earth, but also in the universe, and as well as the relayed information can't be desensitized. Desensitized. You know, all that information in history is there for a reason. You need to know all the bad stuff. You need to know what is bad, so you know for sure what is good. You know, and the more that everyone is aware of that, the more that the universe, I guess in this aspect, the earth, humanity, they can grow, they can heal, they can start to build, they can start to take part in this way that these other beings have gone through, you know, like surviving. That's the whole point of life is living, you know, and if our planet's gonna die or if our planet's gonna like it gets, you know, some kind of catastrophic thing, we need to be able to have those abilities so we can save our people, you know, our plants, our everything on earth, you know, everything has a play and a purpose, you know, and you know the thing with the flood, that was just kind of like a taste of what it means to preserve life, not just a boat, but now it's gonna be a boat for the next area, which is the galaxy, the universe. But that boat is gonna be it's gonna be a ship. It's gonna be a fucking bigger. It's gonna be a bigger ship. It's gonna have more stuff. It might even have ocean inside of it. Might have everything inside of it. Might have like a mini habitat throughout the whole thing. Like it's about growing, and these mega structures from these other beings. Imagine what they understood, and so they decided to to maybe not want to be in one spot. So they put all the good stuff into their. They made like this thing, and they made the world into like a ship, or they were able to grab the materials of the world to make a ship and brought their world with them. I'm sure they had to keep certain things to help keep who they are as beings. Same as we have to, because that's the same thing we have to do. No matter what, we're gonna be type whatever it is that type is. Eventually, these beings probably are possibly even creating worlds. Because they're able to understand and observe stuff. But we don't really know if they're creating worlds or not. But they're definitely making mega structures. So what we think is as a world or a planet, I'm pretty sure far exceeds uh, their technology far exceeds what we think what is big and a mega structure. So their mega structure is probably just something small that and we're just smaller, the way that they create and where they're from, like the vast areas that they're from, and to them it's just mediocre. They're like, this is just a starship. It's the size of your planet. So we're gonna end up being there either way. But it's about that's probably why God put them there. So when we got enlightened, that we can bring the information out that way. So, anyways, that's what I think about history and whatnot. So yeah, thanks for listening.